unity. Drawing upon Scripture again and again throughout his administration, he sought to unify Americans and to amplify their highest, most sacred values. Early in his first term, he announced that he was plotting his course straight out of Jesus' teachings. The great teacher said, "Come that ye may have life, and that ye may have it more abundantly." The object of all our striving should be to realize that abundant life. He meant abundant life in the same way it is used scripturally, for everyone. Roosevelt espoused brotherhood, justice, and faith in God, faith in one another, and faith in a better future. From his first presidential address and for 12 years afterward, he infused his own simple, literal faith so powerfully into the spirit of the American public that many believed he had been sent by God. They looked for signs that God's hand was on him, and sometimes, in his escape from assassination, in his luck, in his care for their welfare, they found such signs. Germans found the same signs of God's blessing in their leader. His own luck was phenomenal. He escaped multiple assassination attempts. When he militarized the Rhineland, brought Austria under his sway, and moved troops into Czechoslovakia, Europe violated its own treaties by standing completely aside. Luck beyond even what Hitler dared hope for. The Führer also used scriptural phrases. In justifying his takeover of other countries, he said Germans must have more land to grow crops for their daily bread, a resonant phrase from the Lord's Prayer in which Jesus asks God to give us this day our daily bread. Rousing their fear was easy. Sanctifying his actions with Jesus' words was a master stroke. He claimed God's blessing far more directly than FDR was wont to do. He wrote in Mein Kampf, "Therefore, I believe today that I am acting in the sense of the Almighty Creator. By warding off the Jews, I am fighting for the Lord's work." But beneath the exploitation of Scripture by both men is a great difference in their methods and their aims. Roosevelt's dependence on Scripture and faith is consistent from before his election as president through his terms of office. Hitler's biblical references twist their meanings to justify a philosophy never presented in Scripture, and belied by his expressed contempt for Jewish and Christian ideals. Hitler targeted the weak and those who opposed him. FDR chose the rich and powerful for denunciation, as the Jewish prophets had before him. Hitler destroyed German democracy. FDR ignored calls for dictatorship, listening to the voice of the people and seeking the guidance of God. Hitler yearned to rule colonies as Great Britain did. FDR eschewed imperialism, speaking against it even with his friend and ally Winston Churchill. Hitler incited violence in his own country and in other countries as a way of undermining the protection of the state. FDR relied on rule of law, bowing to Congress and the Supreme Court even as they blocked his proposals. Roosevelt's worldview and much of his personality were shaped by the strength and vibrancy of his Episcopal faith, which was fed by his sense of a continuing relationship with God. Amid the millions of words written about the 32nd president, only a relatively small number have dealt with his faith. Some scholars have seemed hardly aware of it. Others have scoffed at the very idea that he might have been a man of faith. It's easy to see why. He was far from a holy man in so many ways. He cheated on his wife with her former secretary, Lucy Mercer, and repeatedly broke his promise to Eleanor never to see Lucy again. Some believe he had numerous affairs, although evidence is scant. He was canny, sometimes ruthless. He was deceitful. He held grudges, was sometimes petty, and could be vindictive. He tried to pack the Supreme Court and to purge the Democratic Party of those who weren't progressive enough for him. When he ran for his third and fourth terms as president, he broke the revered two-term custom that was set by George Washington and followed by every other president since. The United States was moving toward war during his third election and engaged in a world war during his fourth.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.